We also have Tara Kartha, strategic analyst, former senior fellow at the U.S. Institute of Defense and Peace Studies, joining us on the program. Ma'am, great to have you back with us on a different platform. Thank you for joining us. How are you, viewing this return of Trump? It's quite a return.
Well, some of that is a little dismaying. I mean, I have nothing against Trump himself. Okay, I do, because he doesn't work for climate change. So I can't stand that. He doesn't recognize climate change. I mean, how crazy is that? But it's a very dark election. The issues which he's talking of, like for example, Elon Musk is talking of voter fraud. He's talking of, it's all negative. It's all talking of things which are going to happen. If you don't do this for me, the US is going to go into a slump. He's been doing this for years. And the fact, as a woman from an Asian country, the fact that the bunch of them don't feel that there is anything wrong in this whole Roe versus Wade overturning, in the abortion issue, all this is very unsettling. I mean, Trump doesn't come out and say abortion is wrong. He's not saying that, but he's kind of very shifty on this whole thing. I think there are about 13 odd states who have already banned it. The issue here is, I think, as you just said, is the economy. So the states worldwide, I mean, the stock markets are doing a jump because they see there's this continuous vision that Trump is good for business. Now, I didn't really see that in the last time. I mean, people are kind of comparing naturally the Biden administration to what it was before, and not taking the COVID into account. So there is a sense that Trump is good for business. So therefore the stock markets rise. So a bunch of people, including prominent business houses, who condemned the violence that he had unleashed, have quietly shifted back to him. So I think even when you were just talking about the Indian Americans, I have seen this for myself. Indian Americans who were convinced in the last election, they voted for Trump and they said, our votes were not counted. There was fraud. So this is his central message. I am the person who is needed. I'm not being allowed to come back. And this, if he wins, that sentiment is working. The sentiment that he's good for business is working. The people who are backing him are big business people. Overall, yeah, it's what you see the world over. This is the kind of sentiment you're seeing the world over. The country for ourselves, the economy first, the rest of the world can go and climb a tree.
Right, and you've actually raised a number of important points, and thank you for your bluntness. I mean, it's you didn't mince your words there. Just to bring everyone up to speed, because we've got other US channels open on the laptop as well. So I believe some
Pennsylvania, which I think you predicted a long time ago,
of course,
has been called. So he's
that's it then, game over now.
By Fox, CNN, everybody, and so it really is definitely called. The election is called.
And there are no surprises. The uniform swing suggests that it's not that one state that brought him up. Everything has moved his way. The country has moved this way.
Right. Baj, you're sitting there in New York. We're seeing that I think Fox is calling, in fact, the election, the presidency for Trump at 277, if I'm not mistaken, Dorab?
Yes, 277.
And Pennsylvania has also been called for him by a couple of networks, which means he is just a couple of votes away from the 270 mark, which is what he needs to win.
Yeah, just on Pennsylvania, there's this Republican analyst who writes for the New York Times and appears on CNN. She has written just now saying that if you look at the exit poll, white men, 58% for Trump, white 50% for Trump, black men, 23% for Trump, black women, 3%. So
that's it.
This is compared to black men's 7% when Biden won Pennsylvania. So he has gained 16% on black votes in Pennsylvania men. So, I mean, how much that translates into votes, maybe only 2-3%. But it's a huge number of people who have voted that way. She also raised another point, which said that 6% of the people who voted in the, came in the survey and voted for Trump said they couldn't stand him, but they were voting for him because they preferred his policy.
That's a really telling number. You know, again, I'll just take that back to Tara Kartha, that you have 23% of black men who have voted in Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. It was only 7% last time when Mr. Biden ran. And again, you know, we were talking about the gender factor here. Is that, you think, at play with black men in this election?
I think overall there is a appeal to men, because you saw Elon Musk's speech, right? Talking of all the men to come out and vote and things like that. But if we look at the predictions in terms of black votes, that's what they've been saying all along, that black and Latino votes are going to go to Trump, because for the simple fact that what they are able to buy in terms of groceries has reduced during Biden, right? So that there is a factor there. Number two is again the same thing, which I have seen for myself among Indian voters. They also want a wall. They don't want immigration. You see, so it's not about foreign policy or anything great like that, or whether he's going to put tariffs on China or not. They're saying how much money do we get finally in terms of to buy our groceries, to get our housing, to get affordable housing, and all the rest of it. I think that is the key here. And unfortunately, I just want to say one more thing here. Kamala Harris had a bad start. I think somebody made that point. She was there at the end once Biden, so I have a lot of, Biden was one of their most experienced presidents in terms of his terms in legislative history. But she came in at the very tail end, when he was finally shown to be unable to lead. That's a terrible thing to do to a starter. So she's already started with a handicap. And if she's done thus far, I think it's pretty creditable. That is already a marker that a woman, it's after all no accident that a woman has never been a president of the US, right? The fact that she made that dent, I think, is going to tell in future.